One nice thing about sessions in general is that whatever you do in your session is specific to your session alone. Does not affect anyone else's session, ever. And that is a good thing. Now, what I was going to be mean, and I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to mess up some of these settings so that for the next person. There we go. We'll close that. And I think I selected the wrong color here. I selected blue. Oh, look at that. And it's all messed up. Okay. All right. Someone else have a seat? Someone who hasn't. Now, let's go to V3. Take V3, make V3 the active input, and I don't care which camera. Which camera do you want to work with? Camera 1 or camera 2? 2. Okay. So camera 2. Now, right now you only see a teeny little bit of something. And actually, hold on. Let me do one more thing. Because I really should. Oh, actually, now I can turn it off here just by clicking that. On, off. But you see these 3 little tabs? The middle one is a on-off switch for the key. That's all it does. You don't get to control the settings, but that's on-off. So I've turned it off. Now go to the gear of 2. And believe it or not, you can undo everything bad I did just by doing a reselection. So go to the eyedropper, click and hold, drag over, reselect the green. Oh, but you know what? Maybe that didn't well, tell you what.
Reset it?
Oh, reset. You're going to cheat. Okay, go ahead, reset. All right, but now you also lost your eyedropper. Go ahead and click, drag over. There we go. So it's already starting to look better. Now, I'm going to say, I'm going to have you drag the tolerance right a little bit, because you see, beyond, it's not just a green on you. There's a little bit of a border still. So let's see if we can get rid of that border. There we go. That's okay. Now that's too much. I think right around there is looking best. Now go to spill tolerance and click and drag that right, and that should hopefully get rid of some of the remaining green on you. Okay. And then when you're done, we go ahead and close that out. Now, right now, we have DDR2 as a full screen background. What do you want as a, well, here. What do you want as a background?
Can I choose this?
Sure.
Oh, but I gotta put it
So
in.
here, go. So put title. There you go, as the background. Go ahead and choose a set. So you're on. Oh wait, let me good. V3, good. Yes, go to that gear and choose a new set. And we're going to do one. Even still, we're going to do one thing different than we did before. Okay, so you're on that set. We're going to crop Kali out. Go to the A position. And I suppose you actually could move it till he's just gone, and that would be a cropping of sorts, but then that would mean that you'd want to be over there, and you don't, so it's probably easier just to...
This is cropping, right?
Yeah, right. That one's going to be your right crop. There you go. Okay. So go there. And now set your zoom level. And again, it doesn't have to be the presets. You can manually do it too. Set to whatever setting you want. Now, let's say for a title, I'm going to have you customize your title to yourself. But let's say I wanted to use stills and titles for both for stills. Okay? I want to use them both for still stores and not for a title store. I have two anchors, and they both have different sets of stills, and I want to use like, and here, I'll show you a neat thing too. Just go to title, right-click on that tab, go to rename, and let's call it still 2, still channel 2. So just still 2. So now we have still channel 1, still channel 2. There you go. Okay. See, still 1, still 2. So if the labeling is battling you and it bothers you that you have, you can change that label. Although changing the label won't change the function. Like you can't, if you relabel that as DDR, it's not going to act like a DDR. All right. So go ahead and click Add, and let's go to a different project and grab, these are all stills. Grab some stills.
Like more than one?
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Just so we have some stuff in there. Now go to the still tab, still 1, and I want you to go to a title. Go to the gear and click in there and make that your name. Indeed. All right. And then make the second line whatever you want it to be. All right. And then click away. Close that. Now, just to show you, okay, that is on stills. So I'm going to show you that you've already seen how to change the overlays here by selecting. This little line here called utility, set that to disk 2 and set disk 2, well, it is on, okay, it is on still. But if it wasn't, now press disk 2 right here on the bar and move that lever up. So now I put a camera as an overlay. Go ahead and bring it back down. So now set that to still, press still, and now bring up the overlay.
So this could come out.
See?
Yeah.
And now bring it down. So now that lever, see this lever is either doing overlay 1, overlay 2, or it's operating the program preview bus. Now when you change its function, what shows up over here will change. So don't get thrown by that. Let's say though that I want this to be a complete still channel. I don't want any titles in there whatsoever. Now once we've set that title, what I can do is do a right click on that title and go to send to. Now you're on this is very important. You're on virtual channel 3. These V buffers, they're frame buffers, send it to the V3 buffer, okay? And then I want you to highlight all 3 of those, and you're going to just the titles, leave the still there. I'll tell you what, just right click, there you go, and then right click and remove. Set that to visual buffer, the overlay for V3. Now overlay, now do overlay take, it's still there. Remove it, and you can fade it up to. Now again, go ahead and here, go ahead and put it up, leave it up. Go ahead and take V1. So, or literally just take V1, make V1 live. See, title's not there, specific only to V3. And also, it's not in any of the channels. Now, I will say, when we do that send to visual buffer, there's no editing it further. And you can only store one item in those frame buffers at a time. So if we choose something else and said
It's gonna
send
erase
to
this.
V3, it will overwrite
Whatever I did last.
whatever was in there. So you have one potential stored frame buffer for each of the V8 channels. Let's go to still 2. All right, let's go back to still 1. I don't. Click add, and let's bring a title back in. So go to June Day's Practice, and let's, actually hold on, no. I changed my mind. Go to Newtek. I do want you to see this. Remember I told you there were templates right in live? You'd never have to design titles on your own? Scroll up and down that menu. All these titles are options to you, and you can edit the text in any of these titles.
And it's like,
Now, the thing is, though, is that in this mode, you can only change the text. In live mode, you can't do, you know, you're like, oh, I like that design, but I want to change the color. You're not going to be able to change the color. If you want to do that sort of stuff, you have to go back. You'd have to edit it in that live text mode, which is literally almost like a different software within the software, just all kind of bundled together. So maybe choose that one. We seem to be sticking with green. Okay. Go to there and choose in there. Okay. Okay, good. Close. Now here I want you to right click and send to, but now we're not going to send to any of the V buffers. See that top choice of just frame buffer? Send to that one. Click disk 1 on the utility and choose frame buffer. Choose disk 1 here and move up. Now, while that's up, take V2, take V3. So that frame buffer is on the main overlay, and it'll stay up no matter what you put up until you bring it down. So that's different. When you send to the V buffers, they are specific to those virtual channels.
and that, I'm sorry, that main overlay, we can actually change that live, but we can't change like the color. We can just change the actual text.
Just to text.
So
Just
that's
to text.
pretty much how they keep the score up, like when you're watching the game,
Mm-hmm.
until they get ready to like go into a commercial or something, they'll take the score down and bring another.
Absolutely, and you have now some of these. If we have all lower thirds, they'd be on top of each other. But you could have multiple overlays. Like let's say your score was an overlay that was up top, and then you had a channel overlay that was lower. Then you can have multiple overlays on at the same time that are not covering, not in the same space on the screen. And that, and they're placed differently. But here again, this is now when we sent it to frame buffer, we could right click on that and we could remove it. It's not going to remove that from the frame buffer until we replace it with something else. And then we could have this and this be completely filled. So here, let's go ahead and right click on that and remove it. And now we're selected on that. Okay, bring that down though. And what I want you to do is, let's go to V1, and I want you to, good, that is set to still. Let's see what V2 is set to. Good, to title. So take V1, that has that pic, oh, you better cure that. Ha ha, I messed you up. Go back in one more time to that gear. It's looking fine. Let's bring up that tolerance. Actually, here, you know what's going to help you? Go ahead and take two, or no, take one. Just take one and make it full screen. That way you can really see it. That's what I mean. It's kind of hard to evaluate it on that. So it's kind of nice to have that full screen. And that's actually that looks pretty good. Okay. So now let's go back to the whichever V channel. There we go. V1, go ahead, take V2. Do you see how we have different? So if the V channels have different selections on the B bus, you could have, now right now we have the same people, but let's say camera 1 was one person, camera 2 is another person, okay, the second person. They could both have, and if you use still and what was formerly titles, we made it still 2. If we use those as still stores specific to each anchor, you can do live switches and they'll both have different pictures lined up and ready for them. And we don't need necessarily to use these channels to keep titles in, because, go ahead and bring up that title. We can use the frame buffers to store titles. But I will say this, if you need a lot of titles, you might have to give up one of your channels to some titles. But you have potentially one main channel of frame buffer and then each individual channel, you know, so let's say you're only using 2 virtual channels. That would give you 3 titles that you could have in frame buffers. If you're not using other virtual channels, then their virtual buffer is not going to serve you at all, because you can only use it when you go to that buffer. Okay, who wants to jump on the controls next? Go ahead and have a seat. All right, let's go to a different virtual channel. Choose a brand new one. So, or one we're not on yet, like maybe, there we go, V5. And be certain to choose V5 there. That's actually important, because you can be looking at a channel that you're not manipulating. Okay, so you have to get used to selecting it here too to actually choose it. Now, go ahead and grab the mouse, and I want you to turn off and turn off there. Okay, which camera is that going to be? Camera 1 or camera 2?
Camera 2.
All right, so put camera 2 on the A bus of V5. Oh, okay, we have the overlay there. Bring that lever down, and that's currently set to the overlay. Let's put the overlay back to background. So now, move that lever up now. Now you're switching between V5 and V1. If you go all the way, now bring it back down, and you're back to V5. Okay. Let's key out camera 2. Go to your gear, and I want you to click reset, because if you don't, you'll be borrowing the last person's settings. Go to your eyedropper, click and drag over. There you go, release, and then you'll fine tune it. So he's got a little border there still. You're going to do that first under the color tolerance. Click and drag right until we, okay, go left a little bit more. There we go, right about there, because we got rid of the border, but we're also not making them transparent. Okay. Now, I know we keep going to, and then go to your spill tolerance, and drag that right, and that is going to get rid of the green that is reflecting on them. And then go ahead and close that out. Okay. We will bring in a virtual set, but I want to point something out. Let's say someone was doing weather. If someone was doing weather, you could load up a weather picture or a weather video, and you wouldn't use a virtual set. You would just keep the weather as a full screen background, right? Mm-hmm. So virtual sets are what you usually go to, but depending upon what you're doing, you might actually keep it as a full screen background. All right? So even though we keep going to the virtual sets, I just want to keep in mind, I don't think we have any. Oh, hold on. Let's go to still let's just go to add. I kind of doubt it.
The weather.
Has anyone other go into
Yeah, when we were in the previous one, choosing the
There-
capture, there was one for weather.
DC News, the top one.
just
Yeah, that one had hurricanes and
You have an extra UM at the top.
right at the top, the hurricane. Yeah.
And then
All right.
you have another one next to it.
You want to pick another one?
so here. Now here, we're on still, so put still as the B bus. Now I want that, it looks a little pixelated. That's probably because it might have been a low resolution image. So if you grab a high resolution image, it'll be like a nice sharp background. But you wanted, here, go ahead and click add, and what other, and point out to him the other graphic that you want.
Try that one.
Okay.
Ah, there you go, the hurricane. All right.
Still.
Oh, it's still behind.
Which one you got here?
Now with this one, I want to show you some. See how this one is not filling out the screen?
Exactly.
Go to the B bus positioner, go to size, and click and drag that over 100%. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now it fills the image.
Scale.
So you can, if something, you're working with high definition, which is a rectangle. So if you put a square in a rectangle, it's not going to fill. It's not going to fill that image. If you choose a tall picture, you're going to have big. Now, sometimes even if you choose a rectangle that's a tighter rectangle, it's not going to fill it. But you can correct all that by working with scale and position. You can kind of work it around to what it will be. But I'll say again, that's where you want extra resolution in your image, because if you're going to be blowing it up, you need it to be a higher resolution image so that it doesn't look all pixelated like that. But that is how we would fill the image. And then they would go and they'd point. Mind you, in the studio, they'd have to keep an eye on the studio monitor because they couldn't see what they're pointing at without looking at that. But this is a potential application for weather. Go ahead and close out of that. Now I'm, yes.
How do they get well, there's still images, of course, but when they're doing the hurricane, they have like the video. Is it just a bunch of still captured?
Well, they might have one or two different things. Some of that could be pre-recorded video, although I actually think those are probably connected to like what live Doppler radars. So it's not just like a pre-recorded thing. It's actually weather equipment generating a live image that they can point at. You know, but if you go on like say YouTube and you type in Doppler radar, you can probably bring up a number of existing images that you could bring in, and then you could put DDR as your background, you know, and then you would play that Doppler radar underneath you. Just make certain that you have a little more than you actually need. Okay? All right, let's choose a set. Now, they were sitting, so we keep choosing, so go down to that thing. We keep choosing sitting sets. Your studio is set up, you know, you have green on the floor, so you could do a standing set too if you want. I'm actually, I told Christian this, I would recommend eventually moving that table out of there. Because you see the virtual sets put a virtual desk in front of you. Now you can hide the real desk with the virtual desk, so I suppose the practical application is yeah, but I need something to actually put stuff on. Okay, then you can have, but then you always have to go through the care of hiding the real desk under a virtual desk. But if you remove that, and if you don't need to place stuff on it, you might as well just get that out of there, and then it won't even be a consideration. Okay, where do you want to place them?
That's how we place the coffee.
You want them standing up or sitting down?
Well, they're sitting, so we'll choose a sitting set. Although, as you can see here, there's a good number, there's a lot of stuff to play around with. There's a lot of variation in sets. Good. Click OK. And there we are. Now, what was the full screen background is now the picture-in-picture. That's under still. Click on that now.
This one?
Yep. Oh, we just changed our picture-in-picture. Click on that. We just changed it again. Change it from still to title. We just changed there. Now go to the title, or to go to still 2, and click on a different image. Oh, there we go. And now we've changed it again. Although right here, stop it. If you press stop, and now just click once, and it should change instantly when you click it. Okay? So you've got a number of ways of changing your picture-in-picture. You can have both a library of items that you change by clicking, or if you change on the B-bus what it is, that's another potential switch of your picture-in-picture. All right, let's cure the collie situation. Go to A. Poor, he always gets cropped out. So right there. And then close that. And then basically it's just a matter of setting your, use it. Now again, you've got your presets, or you could manually grab that handle and set it to the zoom setting that you want. And if you want a live zoom during the show, you could manually work that lever, or you could turn on the animate zoom and click between your presets. When you could store, when you're on these, you could store different ones though. Like if you're actually clicked on one of these and then you change it, it will remember that this now is this different zoom setting, and you can see the numbers up there. Actually, you can move that lever. You can also go to those numbers, and you get the double arrow, and it'll be the same thing. You'll be changing the zoom setting. With the title, I think our still is which one's set to frame buffer? Disk 1. Put this to disk 1. Move the lever and bring it up. Okay, bring it back down. Default selection is fade. Come over here and select this. Now bring it up. And bring it down. Let's choose something different. Okay, bring it in. And take it out. So you're not necessarily stuck. If you want titles to come in a little more fancy way, you can choose. You're not even stuck with these selections. Go to that gear, click on Browse, and this lets you browse different transitions. So, although don't ever change, I don't even know if it allows you to change the first one. Always leave fade as the first one, and that is the default. Let's go to something, let's go to trajectories. That sounds wild. And yeah, choose one of these. That's going to be like crazy. All right, now bring it away. And then bring it in. There you go. Okay? You could now, not just titles, you could, the background, which represents your program in preview, you could set to different things too. Although I will say, in the middle of a program, it's usually going to be take. Like, it can be a little bit of Kid in the Candy Store if you're like going to a different wild transition every time. Usually, the bigger the transition, maybe you might open the show with that, but in the middle, it's usually going to be takes. But it's just something that you're not always stuck with the fade dissolve transition. You can choose different transitions there.